Morning, Sir Johnny.
Yes po, ma'am. Good morning.
Good morning po sa lahat. Welcome po sa Science 10. So we have Sir Johnny Sinogaya as our moderator for this GE conversation. Sir, go ahead po.
Yes po, ma'am. All right. Good morning and welcome to Science 10 Conversation. We are now in the 8th session of the 2021 GE Conversation Series. I am Jonnifer Sinogaya, or can call me Johnny, faculty of the Department of Biology and Environmental Science, College of Science, UP Cebu, and I am the moderator of today's Science 10 Conversation. With me today are my colleagues in the department, Dr. Flores Maglangit and Mr. Ariel Ray Rica, who will serve as assistant moderators in the session. They are part of our UP Cebu Science 10 teaching team. They're handling the chemistry part of the course. Our assistant moderators will be in charge of the chat box and will help me facilitate the Q&A. In this conversation, we are following the same format as prescribed. That is, I have to do the introduction of the panelists or the speakers. Then the presentation of the panelists will follow. In our case, we have pre-recorded video presentation of the panelists, and this will be played by our technical secretariat. And then present the highlights of the panelist video presentation. Next will be the Q&A. We encourage everyone to engage in the Q&A and share your thoughts or experiences, especially from other CEUs not represented by the Science 10 panel. Then we have the presentation of the highlights of the Q&A, and the last will be the photo op. Now, without further ado, let me introduce to you our speakers. Dr. Marie Josephine Delona is a physicist specializing in Raman spectroscopy. She was part of the team which conceptualized and wrote the Science 10 modules. She currently serves as chair of the Department of Physical Sciences and Mathematics of the College of Arts and Sciences, UP Manila. Assistant Professor Kevinilo Marquez is a graduate of BS Chemistry in UPLB and MS Chemistry in UP Diliman. He is a licensed chemist specializing in materials chemistry and physical chemistry. He teaches various courses as a general organic and physical chemistry. He's currently leading the DOST-funded project on formulation optimization of modified asphalt pavements. He also mentored several students in his lignin valorization research group and computational chemistry research group. Professor Mary Joyce Flores, or Joyce, has a PhD degree in environmental science from School of Environmental Science and Management and UP Los Baños. He is currently a professor of the Department of Biology and Environmental Science, College of Science, UP Cebu. He has been teaching science-related GE courses for more than 10 years now, from the old GE to the revitalized and to the current GE courses. Her resume also shows an active involvement in research, the latest of which is the project leader of the DOST-funded Niche Center for Environmental Informatics in Central Visayas, or CENVI project. The research interests are related to natural resources management and biodiversity conservation and sustainability. Assistant Jumar G. Cadondon earned his bachelor's degree in physics from University of the Philippines, Baguio. He finished his master's degree in physics from De La Salle University, Manila. And he is currently teaching Science 10 and physics courses. His research focused on fabrication on thin films for semiconductors and environmental monitoring systems. His latest collaborations with De La Salle University, Manila, and Chiba University focused on development of a portable LED fluorescence LiDAR systems used in chlorophyll A monitoring in natural waters. At this point, I ask the technical secretariat to play the pre-recorded presentations of our panelists. Thank you.
Hi, I am Marie Josephine De Luna from UP Manila, and I teach the physics part of Science 10. At UP Manila, we started offering Science 10 since mid-year of academic year 2019-2020. We have two main teaching delivery platforms. For our synchronous sessions, we use Zoom, while for our asynchronous activities, we use our learning management system, which is Canvas. These are our teaching strategies for Science 10. We use a combination of synchronous once a week and asynchronous sessions. The synchronous Zoom sessions are recorded and uploaded on the LMS. Modules, readings, and PowerPoint lecture handouts are posted on the LMS. We also post links to recommended YouTube videos to supplement their knowledge. Group assignments are given every week, and there are games in some of the modules. As for our assessments, we have both the traditional and alternative assessments, such as online quizzes and exams, concept map, and critical essays. I'd like to show you my Canvas dashboard. So as you can see, these are all the courses that I have already taught and are currently teaching. And here you will see that I already have 3 Science 10 courses on my dashboard. This was for mid-year of last year. This was for the first semester of this academic year. And this is for the current semester. So let me just open one of our Science 10 courses. So after clicking on the course, the welcome page opens, and you'll see here the syllabus. And these are the links to the physics module, the chemistry module, and the geology module. On the left-hand side, you will see the menu. So if you want to go to the modules, you just click on modules. And you will now see the activities, the assigned activities per week. So for example, you see here for week 1, we have the introduction, we have the course guide, and we have a class contract, and we have here our handout and the recording of our first meeting and their first activity, which is a blog or a vlog about the impact of a scientific discovery or contribution in physics. And they will also see their learning tasks for week 1. So those are their learning tasks. This is for module 2. Again, we have the learning tasks, the handouts, the readings, and a list of recommended videos. And again, the assignment for this module. And instead of a quiz, they submit a concept map, and then they evaluate their group mates again for this module. And you also see here the recordings of our synchronous sessions. In the chemistry module, the students are given some games. So for example, we have here a stellar fusion game, which is a simulation of how elements are formed from hydrogen all the way to iron 56 in stars. Another fun game that students do in the chemistry module is on protein folding. So in this game, the students evaluate how interparticle forces of attraction play a role in the building of larger structures. We now have the geology part of Science 10. Since mid-year last year, we have been getting feedback from our students, and they said that what they found most effective were the combination of synchronous once a week and asynchronous activities, the access to recordings of synchronous Zoom sessions. This enabled those who were unable to attend the sessions to view the synchronous sessions, and for the rest, they were also able to review the discussion for the week. They also found the PowerPoint lecture handouts very helpful, as well as the recommended videos. What worked for some, but not for others? There were some who complained about the group work. While some liked having group work, they liked interacting with their group mates. While for those who didn't like group work or did not find it effective, it had something to do with it had to do with their group mates, because they said that they found it difficult to find a common time to meet with their group mates. Some also liked doing the games, while others said that being required to do the game took the fun out of it. What do many of them complain about? Many of the students complain about the workload. They say there are too many readings and too many activities for a GE course. And these are their suggestions for improvement. Most of them want more interactive synchronous sessions, shorter and easier to understand readings, as well as shorter turnaround time for feedback. What were our challenges? Like all of us, I guess, these were our challenges in the conduct of our online classes. We have internet connectivity issues as well as electrical interruptions. So when we have students who missed a quiz or who was not able to submit the assignment because of these issues, we allow them to take the quiz. So if it is not possible for them to access Canvas, then I send the quiz to them by email. And for those who had electrical interruption, for those who experienced electrical interruptions, I allow them to take the quiz at a later date, or if not, I just exclude it from their grade. I exclude the missed quiz from their grade. And that is how we are teaching Science 10 at UP Manila. Thank you for listening.
Good day to all. I'm Assistant Professor Kevin Marquez, and I'm here to share my experiences, some challenges faced, and some reflections as a lecturer of Science 10 in UP Los Baños. So I have been handling Science 10 for 5 semesters now, and I have experienced both the face-to-face and the remote modalities. So shown here is the summary of the course requirements that I give my students every semester. So first, for the module worksheets, I give them 1 worksheet per module, so a total of 9 worksheets per semester. So these worksheets serve as guide questions for students to highlight important points in the module and the readings, and I can also use them to assess the students' understanding of those modules and readings. So if they are having problems understanding those concepts in the modules and the readings, I can discuss them further in the synchronous meetings. So I also give them various module activities. So I minimize the module activities to 1 per module because they are already doing the worksheets. So for the module activities, I let them critique retracted research papers. So sometimes I do this by group or individually. So I assign retracted research papers by group or individually, and then they will critique that research paper. So they have to determine why the research paper was retracted in the first place. So I also let them examine existing websites for incorrect or inaccurate information. So I assign websites for them to examine per group or individually, and then they will submit a paper describing the website and how the website may twist science for their own benefit. So I also let them assess some current issues for scientific validity. So for example, the current issues in global warming or climate change, or some issues regarding the coronavirus. So various issues that may help them practice the scientific method, okay, and apply the scientific method to current issues to be able to fact check everything in their or every information that they encounter. So I also give them long exams for summative assessment, and finally I give them a final project. It's either a library research paper or critique another output that may help the general masses understand information. So sometimes I give them topics and they will give me a final paper, or sometimes they will produce an infographic explaining the concept that is relevant to the modules or the topics that were discussed in Science Tech. So in this semester, I let them search for science-based products currently in the market. So are those science-based products effective? Are the scientific basis for those products sound or not? So they will have to assess. They will have to use the scientific method and some concepts that they have learned in Science 10 to be able to make such assessments. So they should also be presenting this information for the benefit of the general masses. So they should find a way to communicate this information effectively. So these are the examples of the module worksheets that we give our students in Science Tech. So basically, we let them define the topics and describe phenomena and describe the highlights of the readings using their own words or using their own understanding. So we can assess how the students actually understand what they have read in the modules and the associated readings. So aside from the paperwork, I let them do other activities such as the Eratosthenes method on the measurement of the Earth's and the Sun's circumferences. So I let them go outside using their meter sticks, mirrors, and paper and some strings to be able to measure the circumference of the Earth and the Sun. So they will have to gather their own data and realize that Eratosthenes model has some assumptions. Right? So next is the atomic structure based on the standard model. So they will make a poster of a certain element, and the element will be viewed based on the standard model. So how do they illustrate a certain element using the entities and the subatomic particles that were presented in the standard model? So I also let them find their own star charts. So I let them identify stars present in their own star chart and then research on its properties. So its temperature, its size, its age. Okay, so the elements present as well. So with this kind of activity, they will learn more about the stars and the constellations and the planets that are present in our observable universe. So summarized here are the challenges that we faced while teaching Science 10 and the steps taken by the Science 10 team to alleviate each challenge. So for the first one, most of the students have limited access to the internet. So therefore, disruptions are inevitable. So for the steps taken, first, we minimize the activities that require constant data supply. So we refrain from using Google Forms in exams and quizzes. So the students will just have to download the questionnaire and then answer the exam offline and then upload their answer sheets afterwards. So for the next one, we minimized synchronous meetings because Science 10 in the first place is designed for blended learning. So we only meet when necessary and the attendance is not required. So all synchronous discussions also are posted in the LMS afterwards. So after the meeting, the recorded discussion will be uploaded in the LMS for the benefit of those who didn't attend the meeting. So in the online setting for the next one, students often do academic activities not on their study schedule. So it doesn't mean that if your class is 2:30 to 4 p.m., the students will study Science 10 from 2:30 to 4 p.m. So they will find a better time to study the courses because not everyone has a convenient study schedule or convenient study environment. So they will have to wait for the night to be able to study more quietly and to have a better internet connection. So our solution here is that we created a schedule of the release and deadline of activities for the first semester so that the students can plan their schedules accordingly. So of course, the schedule is flexible. Okay, so for suspensions and some sudden disruptions in class, we can reschedule some activities. And we also increased flexibility in the deadline of activities. So another challenge or observation is that some modules or readings may contain topics or concepts that are too difficult to understand, especially for students who don't have a sufficient background in the physical sciences. So my solution for that is that I discuss prerequisite topics during the synchronous meetings. So I spend the synchronous meetings asking students if they understand each topic or each highlight of the module or the readings assigned for them that day. So I also encourage discussion forums in the LMS, especially for those students who cannot keep up with the concepts in the modules or the readings. Okay, so they can ask their classmates or they can ask me regarding those topics. So the students may also request synchronous sessions for clarifications regarding those topics. So for the next one, students may ask about the relevance of such abstract concepts to everyday life. So we have to admit some concepts in Science 10 are too abstract to be able to relate to the current issues that we are facing today. So my solution here is that I provide purpose-driven learning. So I created activities that highlight specific objectives that relate to current events and issues. So my main objective here is to fight fake news. So the fake news and fake information or twisted facts are the main problems of our current society. So I give some examples of information that are twisted, some fake information, inaccurate information, so that the students can relate what they are learning in Science 10 to the immediate society where they are involved. So aside from the modules and the readings, I also provide them with the selected videos from prominent science channels. So these science channels have very good interpretations and explanations of the basic scientific concepts and topics that may help students understand their modules and readings better. So the following are my personal motivations for teaching Science 10 lessons. So I also tell this to my students because I want them to use these motivations to learn Science 10 as well. So for the first one, it's not enough that they just know what they know. They should know how they know what they know because given this current period in time, most of the facts can now be disputed. And there are a lot of facts that have no basis. So when dealing with learning, we have to tell our students that they should not just memorize the concepts that they know. They should also understand those concepts. For the second one, we should increase scientific curiosity of the students by letting them know how scientists think and how they design experiments to test their theories. Because there are so many fake news nowadays, okay, we have to teach the students to find a way to test the facts that are presented to them. So it's very important for the students to not just know what they know, but to learn how to test the information that they are receiving. So finally, we should also stress the impact of having basic knowledge and understanding of science when making large-scale policy decisions. So again, given our current situation, basic understanding of science is very, very important. So I have to stress this over and over again to my students for them to understand that ignorance to basic scientific concepts may cause very negative effects in the future. So thank you for listening.
Good morning, everyone. Mayong buntag sa tanan. Teaching GE courses can be quite challenging, much more if you're teaching remotely. Some students, especially those from non-science programs, are not particularly fond of science GE courses, maybe because they do not find these relevant to their program. So in teaching Science 10, whether in a face-to-face or remote mode, my end goal has always been to make students feel comfortable and less distressed with science topics, and make them see the relevance of Science 10 topics to their respective programs. Science 10 in UP Cebu is team taught. I teach the geology component, so what I will be presenting will be my experiences, plus the inputs of a chemistry component teacher, Mr. Ariel Rica. The Google Classroom was set up 2 weeks before I started my classes so that the students could already browse through the syllabus and learning materials. This is important for our first virtual meeting where the syllabus is finalized based on student feedback. Modifications were made in the syllabus to adapt to remote learning. Changes were made to the community, and I included a policy on a virtual office. Although my mode of teaching was generally asynchronous, I set at least 2 virtual meetings with the class. Attendance in the virtual meetings is encouraged but not required, and these are not lecture meetings but more of a kumustahan where we discuss and resolve issues and concerns. Also added in the syllabus is a set of netiquettes. For the references, readings per module were decreased to include only those that are highly relevant to the topics and assigned activities. My colleague Ariel, who teaches the chemistry component, conducted synchronous classes because he found this to be far better than a pre-recorded lecture, as he's able to check the students' understanding and solicit real-time feedback from students. We enhance the learning material to the lecture presentations and to the activities. The course content was made more accessible and less redundant with senior high school courses or existing courses in a student's degree program. For highly technical and difficult to grasp topics, a review of fundamental concepts was done. For example, towards modern physics and astrophysics, and maybe too technical for students from non-STEM backgrounds. So Ariel reviewed the development of the atomic structure first, as well as the introduction to nuclear reactions. Module 5 on compounds spends too much time reviewing high school chemistry concepts, which might be redundant for some students. So what the chem teacher did was to focus on selected compounds commonly found in household chemicals and explain their macroscopic properties based on molecular structure, which is the very
Ma'am Banj, nandyan pa ba kayo? Ako
Oo
nawala.
nga. Yeah, oo nga, ma'am. Ako nga magtatanong. Check lang natin, Steph. Kumusta? Sorry. Okay. Ayan na. Thank you.
Wala pong sound, ma'am.
Yeah, oo. Wala pang sound.
Instead of just filling out a table and submitting a document, the teacher instructed his students to submit a selfie holding a household product containing a certain chemical compound. This activity was creatively titled as Treasure Hunt. The online database MolView was also used to search 3D molecular structures of the compounds in household products. In summary, make students comfortable by meeting and greeting them whether you eventually adopt the asynchronous or synchronous mode of teaching. Adjust the syllabus to include policies for remote learning and incorporate the suggestions from the students. Enhance course content, lecture presentations, and activities to make them more engaging and relevant. Holding of synchronous classes is highly encouraged to be able to directly check students' understanding and solicit real-time feedback from them. Daghang salamat.
Hello everyone, I'm Mr. Jumar Cadondon and I am here to discuss to you how we teach Science 10 in UP Visayas. For the past 3 semesters, we have offered Science 10 for the school year 2019-2020. For the second semester, we have offered 12 sections with approximately 41 sections each. For the school year 2020-2021, we only offered 9 sections with approximately 40 students. For the current semester, we are now offering 17 sections with 25 students each. We are currently full of 6 faculty members from the physics cluster and 4 from the chemistry department. Our teaching strategies focus on the combination of asynchronous and synchronous sessions. Printed modules were also designed for students who cannot connect to the internet. Modules, readings, and PowerPoint lectures are provided through Gmail and through handouts.
Nawala yung sound. Tama ba? Oh,
Yes, ma'am.
sorry.
Instead of just
Steph,
filling out a table and submitting a
can
document,
you...
the teacher
Ayan, meron
instructed
na.
the students to
pwede
submit a
mong
selfie holding
i-backtrack
a household
yung
product
play.
containing a certain chemical compound. This appears placed. For synchronous classes, the teacher incorporated all graded activities and assessments in the form of simple recitation, online quiz via Kahoot, or playing online games related to the topic during the synchronous class hours. This means no added pressure for students outside their synchronous class. For students who were unable to attend synchronous classes, they were given the recorded video of the lecture and were still given the option to complete the graded activities asynchronously. Here are some redesigned activities under the chemistry component. For example, the activity on stellar fusion was replaced with the online game Helios, which provides a more visual and accurate representation of the nuclear reactions in a star. Another redesigned activity which brought out the creativity of students is on the properties of common household products. Instead of just filling out a table and submitting a document, the teacher instructed the students to submit a selfie holding a household product containing a certain chemical compound. This activity was creatively titled as Treasure Hunt. The online database MolView was also used to search 3D molecular structures of the compounds in household products. In summary, make students comfortable by meeting and greeting them whether you eventually adopt the asynchronous or synchronous mode of teaching. Adjust the syllabus to include policies for remote learning and incorporate the suggestions from the students. Enhance course content, lecture presentations, and activities to make them more engaging and relevant. Holding of synchronous classes is highly encouraged to be able to directly check students' understanding and solicit real-time feedback from them. Daghang salamat.
Hello everyone, I'm Mr. Jumar Cadondon and I am here to discuss to you how we teach Science 10 in UP Visayas. For the past 3 semesters, we have offered Science 10 for the school year 2019-2020. For the second semester, we have offered 12 sections with approximately 41 sections each. For the school year 2020-2021, we only offered 9 sections with approximately 40 students. For the current semester, we are now offering 17 sections with 25 students each. We are currently full of 6 faculty members from the physics cluster and 4 from the chemistry department. Our teaching strategies focus on the combination of asynchronous and synchronous sessions. Printed modules were also designed for students who cannot connect to the internet. Modules, readings, and PowerPoint lectures are provided through Gmail and through handouts. Links to YouTube videos and online activities were also present. Interactive and creative activities were designed to improve the teaching of Science 10. Group activities were also provided, however, in a minimal manner. We delivered these particular activities in Science 10 through our University of the Philippines Visayas Learning Management System and through the leadership of Dr. Espinosa. The physics cluster created its own learning management system for physics courses and Science 10. We also used Zoom for synchronous classes, also for recordings of activities and deadlines. We used Gmail, Google Drive, Facebook Messengers, and Messenger for activities and for questions from the students. And I myself used Canvas for a different type of Moodle system. This is an example of our UPVLMS. So currently I am not teaching Science 10. However, with a different learning management system, as I will show you now, this is our course offering in Science 10 using the physics model learning management system. As you can see, there are PowerPoint presentations and assignment guides that the student can actually click on time. And there are also links to videos that can be used by the students to further understand the topic. Next, the adjustments created by the faculty are as follows. There were no exams and term papers for Science 10 during the pandemic. We have reduced the assignments for each module, and no reporting or lesson group activities were conducted since not all students can connect to the internet. And in general, we have simplified our modules. Students complain more about modules and too much study guides and assignment guides for each module. We suggest for improvement that there should be Science 10 revisions which caters shorter and easier readings for the students as well. And we experience internet problems in internet connections and unexpected power interruptions in which we cannot deliver Science 10 properly. We should understand in general that students and teachers are adapting to new normal, and we should allow adjustments on deadlines, and we should minimize workload for both students and teachers, and we must be considerate on the mental health and awareness of the students and the teachers. Thank you.
Sir Johnny, okay na po ba?
Yes po, ma'am. Sorry, I was not able to unmute my microphone. So,
Thank you po.
thank you very much for that presentation. All I thought was my connection, or rather, the problem was on my side because my internet suddenly became unstable. Anyway, the videos were collated perfectly, courtesy of my son. And all right, so let me give you a bit of a summary or some highlights of the presentations. Okay, so from UP Manila, the main delivery platforms were or are Canvas and Zoom. And as to their teaching strategies, they're using a combination of synchronous and asynchronous classes. Synchronous classes are recorded and uploaded to the LMS. Modules, readings, and lecture handouts are also uploaded to the LMS. Provide the students the links to recommended YouTube videos. They also conducted sort of a group assignment They also have games. They introduce games to supplement the learning activities, and they use the traditional and alternative assessments. Okay. Then they receive some kind of a positive feedback from students, their strategy being effective, except that some are not comfortable for group assignments and games. They also receive some complaints from students that is for heavy workload, too many readings and activities. And they also receive suggestions from students for improvement, namely to conduct more interactive synchronous classes, to provide shorter and easier to understand readings, and to have a shorter turnaround time for feedback. And they face challenges in the conduct of online classes. Of course, the most common, we have this intermittent internet connectivity. And second is the unscheduled power interruptions. For UP Los Baños, the main delivery platforms was not mentioned. Now, as to the teaching strategies, they provided module worksheets. They also provided module activities. They conducted summative assessments in the form of long exams and required a final project. They also provided videos from prominent science channels. Now, so the challenges they face in the conduct of online classes, most students have limited internet access. There are disruptions during online classes, and they have steps taken or actions taken to resolve this issue. They minimize the number of synchronous classes, that is, they meet only when necessary, and also attendance is not required. And also they give only offline examination. Synchronous meetings are recorded and uploaded to the LMS. They also have some observation during online classes. Students are doing their academic work on their convenient schedule, mostly at nighttime when internet connection is faster. And so they've provided a schedule of activities for the entire semester with flexible deadlines. And also the modules or readings contain concepts that are too technical for non-science programs from students, and that for this, the prerequisite topics are discussed in the synchronous meetings, and they also encourage the students to join in discussion forum. Now, for UP Cebu, the main delivery platform is the Google Classroom. Some actually are using our own DLE, and as to the teaching strategies, Science 10 in UP Cebu is team taught, although the other panelists did not highlight this, but it came out during our discussion and a pre-conference that none or not of all of us are actually following this team taught method. And so all teaching materials are set up in the LMS before the start of classes. The syllabus was adjusted based on the remote learning policies of the university and feedback also from the students. Now, the classes are generally asynchronous for, in the case of geology, and asynchronous for chemistry topics. Synchronous classes are intended to resolve issues, get feedback from the students in the form of attendance, or rather, attendance rather is encouraged but not required. Now, the assessments are incorporated in synchronous meetings in the form of simple recitation or games, and no added pressure given to the students. And recorded lectures are then uploaded in the LMS. Now, UP Cebu is also facing these challenges for the remote teaching. Students from non-science programs are not so interested in the science course, maybe because they did not find it relevant to their program. And so action taken for this is that enhanced course content using visual presentation and provided more engaging and relevant activities. And we also face technical and difficult or rather, we also have this challenge as to the technical and difficult to grasp topics. And so the action taken for this is to review the fundamental topics before these main topics. Now, as to the UP Visayas, the main delivery platforms, they created the LMS for physics, aside from using Zoom, Canvas, Facebook, Messenger, Google Drive, and Gmail. As to the strategies, they adopted the combination of synchronous and asynchronous classes, provided printed modules to students with no access to internet. The modules, readings, and PowerPoint handouts are provided through Gmail. They also provided links to YouTube videos and online activities. They introduced interactive and creative activities to improve the teaching of Science 10. And modules were also simplified. That is, no exams and term papers given, no assignments, or rather assignments per module reduced, and no reporting or they lessen the group activities. They also received complaints from students, and it is that it has too many modules and it has too many study guides and assignments for each module. Now, suggestion for improvement be suggested for the revision of the Science 10 syllabus, allow the adjustments for deadlines, minimize workload both for faculty and students, and consider the mental health of faculty and students. As to the challenges they faced, is common. Again, the intermittent internet connection and then the unscheduled power interruption. So I guess our panelists are now ready to answer questions or clarifications from our participants. So the floor now is open for the Q&A.
Yes, Sir Johnny. Is it okay if we start with questions that were not yet addressed in the presentations, no? So
Yes,
one of the
Sir Ariel.
yes, one of the questions here, sir, is where is Module 9 Origin of the Biosphere? So apparently, a lot of instructors do not have access to the module.
So may I ask our panelists to address this question?
What was the question again? Regarding the biosphere, there was a question.
They're looking for Module 9, Origin of the Biosphere. Wala daw po sa drive ng OVPAA.
Oh, yeah, I think it is OVPAA who should answer the question. Pero baka
Parang mahirap sagutin, Ma'am Jojih. Ma'am Jojih, meron po bang member ng member ng team ng Science 10 ngayon na part nung nag-develop ng modules nung 2018 yung ginamit?
I was part of the team. For Science 10, I think kompleto naman yata yung nasa drive. So Biosphere is sa Science 10 ba yun? Ay, Science 11 ba yun?
Jojih, Science 10, Geopart.
Okay. Ayun pala yan si Edan. So, nasa drive, na, hinahanap yata yung module.
Actually, may time na iniintay namin yung comment ni Dr. Arinto. Parang eventually sinabi niya na okay na, pero hindi ko alam kung naisama niya sa drive. Since kami yung gumawa nung biosphere na module, meron kaming copy. So hindi ko lang alam kung na-share niya for everyone. Actually, di ba parang kaya matagal, parang hindi sunod-sunod yung pag-review ng mga modules natin. Tapos I think hindi matagal din bago siya nag-comment about modules 7 and 8. Yung 9, parang sinabi niya na okay lang. Parang ganun lang.
Okay. Sige. So assignment ko po yun. Babalikan ko kayo doon. So I will coordinate with Ma'am Pat to find out. But alam ko po nga na I have to check also because I remember the modules were hosted, I think, sa Diliman na na Uble eh. So I have to check kung nandun pa rin. Diba? So assignment ko po yung module 9. Babalikan ko po kayo on that. So thank you for the clarification and the heads up, no? So all the while akala natin kompleto pero may missing pala na module. Okay, thank you po.
Yes, Ma'am Baji. May I ask Dr. Joyce if she was able to access this module 9? Dr. Joyce. I think Dr. Joyce has a problem with her connection.
Hello. Yan. Can you hear me?
Yes, Joyce.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I did not have access to module 9, so I made my own. I really wrote module 9. What's this? So I would be very happy not to have access to the original module because I just wrote module 9, origin of biosphere, the modules with study guide. So I made my own. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Dr. Joyce. That's also actually our experience was the modules were given piecemeal. No? When we offer this course, yung na-receive muna namin ay yung first 4 modules ata yon. That is for physics. And then followed by the modules for chemistry. Hindi ko na follow up if lahat ng mga modules ay na-upload doon sa shared na Google Drive. Okay, so Sir Ariel, do you have other questions?
Yes, Sir Johnny. Sir. Since we're already talking about module writing, sir, let me just follow up the question with, is there a plan to redesign the Science 10 modules to deliver it in a more integrative way since it is collaboratively team taught and perhaps to touch more socio-political topics as well?
So anyone from the panel, please?
Yeah, I think in terms of, sige, ako na lang. In terms of plan to redesign the modules, I think it should be a system initiative. So, ano naman yan eh, which kumbaga ano yan, dapat nag-evolve yung module. So itong first run of the modules, we should evaluate, assess, make a good assessment of how effective they were, and then based on that assessment, then we can have a workshop and revise it, based on the feedback from students and faculty who took the course. Faculty who taught and students who took the course. Ayun.
Dagdag ko, Ma'am Jojih, yun po yung next step.
Yeah.
So may planned na workshops ngayong mid-year after the conversations, and briefly address ko lang yung question about the assessment on the relevance of the course as it is now designed. So i-segue ko lang po that meron tayong technical working group on GE evaluation and the GE implementation. And the technical working group on GE evaluation is actually conducting a survey ongoing na matatapos today sa faculty and students on assessment of the GE program, evaluation. So the last time that we did an evaluation of the GE program was in 2018, I think, through a survey also and an FGD. So yan po yung topic nung plenary 2 conversation sa May 11. So yun po.
Yeah, and I think itong mga modules that we are using now, they were designed for face-to-face instruction. So yeah, so kailangan talaga i-revisit for the online mode of teaching.
Okay, thank you for that answer, Ma'am Banji and Ma'am Jojih. All right, so maybe we can proceed to other questions.
Yes, Sir Johnny. Another concern being raised sa questions po is Science 10 being too technical for students that are especially not from the STEM background. So how can we make highly technical courses like Science 10 more inclusive to these students?
Yeah, that is the common feedback from the students. They find it difficult as far as, of course, the readings, too technical. So may we hear from our panelists, or maybe we can also ask thoughts from our participants, especially from those coming from the other CUs. Okay, anyone?
Mauna.
Ako na lang po muna. Yun po talaga yung pinaka palagi naming issue pagdating sa pagtuturo ng Science 10. So, what I do is I find or I scour through the internet for issues. Kasi ngayon yung pinaka-issue kasi sa science is yung papaano papaano pinapresent yung information. Minsan kasi kahit tama naman yung data, nagkakaroon sila ng twist pagdating sa conclusion. So, from that, yung module 1 kasi namin or sa Science 10, yung module 1 is about the scientific method. So, parang matututunan ng students na yung scientific method is not limited to those 7 steps. So, mas marami pang nuances dun sa, for example, pag-formulate ng objective, pag-design ng experiment, tapos pagtingin dun sa data. So, kapag kasi ang estudyante mas nakaka-relate sila sa topic, mas nagiging driven silang matuto. So, yun lang naman po yung parang gusto ko palaging gawin sa kanila tuwing tuturo ng science. Dapat lagi silang nakaka-relate para mas motivated silang matuto. Kasi once na kapag binigyan mo na sila ng topic na nakaka-relate sila, tapos nakita nila yung gap, kasi may makikita nila na yung information na kailangan nilang matutunan is nasa module para maintindihan nila yung isang pressing issue na to. So, babasahin nila yung module, maintindihan nila yung concepts, and then, saka nila maa-apply yung natutunan nila doon sa mga issues. Important din po talaga dito yung formulate ng mga activities. Hindi siya dapat parang limited lang sa parang paperwork, ganyan. Kailangan naiintindihan din nila kumbaga, dapat nakaka-relate sila and dapat ma-enjoy nila yung ginagawa nila muna bago natin actually maibigay yung gusto nating ibigay sa kanila, which is scientific information. Kasi hindi naman talaga siya interesting in itself kung science lang talaga yung ituturo natin. Kailangan may parang bagay na makaka-relate sila. Yung parang bridge na bibigay natin para makarelate sila dun sa science. Yun lang.
Okay, thank you, Sir Kevin, for that answer. How about from the other experience?
I think although naputol sa presentation ko kanina, it was explained that as in most of the physics and chem topics, these technical portions, the teacher tries to go back or review the fundamentals before going into the details, and then the activities are made really engaging. So yun, yung may mga online games, pati yung activities na highly interactive. And then on my part, in the CHEO component, talagang we because I noticed, I think all of us noticed that our students now are highly visual. So based on their feedback, they want all these visuals to support the notes or the lecture notes plus the videos. So we give them that. I think all of us have that. These videos and more visual. In fact, yung mga GIFs, no, talagang may movement. If you try to explain plate tectonics, kailangan they can visualize, no, what's the difference between like converging plates, diverging plates, and all these stuff. So kailangan may mga accompanying movement. So yun, they appreciate that more. And then the activities, you have to really explain, no, what these activities are. What are the significance of these? What's the significance of these activities? So that they can relate this to their courses. Like for example, yung mga fine arts student, they would want to see the relevance of Science 10 to their course. So then you have to give them visuals or even present scenarios where their program becomes relevant. Yun.
Yeah, thank you, Doc Joyce. So, I agree. No? Ako rin, I use visuals, simulation for the students to really appreciate the topic. Okay, about
In my case, sir.
Jomar.
Yes, sir. In my case, I added debate topics kasi most of our students are from the social sciences. So I use topics that might interest them, then I can relate it to the topic. So usually I give them keywords such as epistemology, scientific method, skepticism. Then after that, I use a specific debate topic that we can actually relate to a specific topic. So I actually used a topic, for example, can science explain morality? In that way, they can actually appreciate what we are teaching in Science 10. So there are other debate topics that I actually used, and I let them do a one-page, a pro and con lang for them to appreciate better the topics.
Yeah, thank you, Sir Jomar. Ma'am Jojih, you have something to add?
Yeah, Science 10 is not meant to be a highly technical course, no, kasi GE siya eh. Although the faculty who should be teaching it should have adequate technical background to be able to explain the concepts in a manner that can be understood by the students. So, hindi talaga siya dapat ituturo in a highly technical manner because the objective here is appreciation of science, trying to make them parang not necessarily see how it will directly impact them, but just for the sake of science, no, parang developing an appreciation of science for itself. And but of course, meron ding dapat mga activities that would see how it relates to their everyday lives. So tama yung sinabi kanina by the other panelists, no, na visuals would help them understand the concept. So we really make an effort to look for videos that are accurate, that would simplify or help them visualize some difficult concepts. So in my case, for the physics part, for example, para ma-appreciate nila yung connection to their discipline, I asked them to make a blog or a vlog about a scientific discovery or scientific principle, and how it impacts their lives or society. And since many of them are in the health profession, so parang marami na ginagawa nila about x-rays, yung mga ganon. So parang nakikita nila yung paano na-discover yung x-rays, tapos ano yung impact nun. So siguro doon, no, na nakikita nila yung importance and na-appreciate din nila. So I think yun lang yung ma-share ko about that.
Thank you, Ma'am Jojih. Maybe we can hear from the other participants from other CUs.
Sir, may naka-raise na hand si Sir Velasco. Sorry. Hindi ko alam. Tama, si Sir Velasco. Hi, sir.
Hello,
Yes,
good morning.
sir.
Thank you for it was a delight to hear from my colleagues how they are offering the course in science. I've been in science for more than several decades. I've been teaching entomology to undergraduate and graduate students. But I'm raising this because for many years I've encountered a lot of students really not understanding science. Their focus is more on content rather than on the process of science and how it can be useful to them. Okay. Science can be very difficult. Okay. It's not something that is straightforward. And if you search the philosophy of science, they have many conversations about that, from Karl Popper to Thomas Kant to a number of science philosophers. My point is that I think we have to emphasize that they have a good understanding of science if they want to be relevant in today's society, which is really very science-driven. Okay, I hear that some topics are discussed on the nature of science, but I think we have to situate science in a broader context that it is one of those knowledge systems that we use as a tool to survive in this world, and that they should be able to differentiate scientific knowledge from the other knowledge systems that are non-science, and how they are able to work with this. I think, to my mind, that should be more of the focus of how we should approach teaching science, especially as a general education course in this university. I would like very much to hear your comment and reaction to that, to my statements.
Okay, thank you po, sir. So any comments?
Hello po. Comment lang po. Actually, yung Science 10 po talaga, medyo mahirap siyang ituro kung ang i-focus natin is yung mismong concepts na dapat natin ituro. So, halimbawa, ako po nung una ako nagtuturo ng Science 10, nakafocus talaga ako na dapat nilang matutunan tong concept na to about standard model, for example, or Big Bang Theory, ano yung mga terms, ano yung mga highlights ng study. Pero as I went on teaching Science 10 sa mga sumunod na semesters, I realized na yung approach pala dapat natin, o yung approach talaga dapat sa Science 10 na sa GE is like yung kung ano yung approach nila sa ibang GE course is yung value nung science. So, paano mo siya ituturo such that yung students nasusundan nila yung thought process ng mga scientists. So, nung nagtuturo po ako, for example, ng Big Bang, I tried to tell them how the scientists came up with the Big Bang Theory instead of teaching the Big Bang Theory itself. Kasi yung Big Bang Theory concepts and terms, nandun siya sa module. Makukuha naman siya ng student. Kasi sa ngayon, yung information naman, madali na siyang makuha. Pero understanding the information and how it relates to each other, yun dapat talaga yung role natin as teachers of the GE Science 10. So, yun na po yung yung parang finocus ko. So, they gather these concepts doon sa modules, tapos they tried to define those concepts doon sa worksheets while I connect all the concepts all together. So, paano nila naisip, halimbawa, yung Big Bang Theory, hindi naman yung parang something lang na naisip lang nila out of nowhere. So, maintindihan nila through the course na a Big Bang Theory is a result of various theories na nanggaling kung saan-saan, ganun. Tapos yung standard model, hindi naman siya parang bigla lang sumulpot dyan. It's based on the quantum mechanics, yung model ng quantum mechanics. Minsan po talaga kasi counterintuitive yung mga concepts tulad ng dual nature of light. How do you explain to the students that light is both a wave and a particle? So, I have a lot of analogies. Minsan hindi effective yung iba, minsan effective yung iba. So, ang ginawa ko na lang po siguro, siguro in summary, ang focus ko na lang po talaga siguro is to share to the students how scientists think when they think about these concepts. Hindi na po masyado talaga dun sa mismong mga terms and yung processes. Kasi yung mga terms and processes na yun, madali lang po siya i-discuss sa mga students. Kapag yung students meron na sila nung mindset na this is what we need to do, or this is how we need to think when we think about science. Parang ganun na lang po. So ngayon, mas na-appreciate nila yung science 10, yung mga students ko ngayon, kaysa doon sa mga students ko dati. Kasi dati, nakafocus ako sa concepts and doon sa mga dapat tama yung sagot mo sa ganito, sa ganyan. Ngayon, reflections na yung hinihingi ko sa kanila. Ano sa tingin nila yung theory na to based on their understanding. Tapos from there, magbe-bridge na lang po kami. So yun. Pagka natutunan na po nila mag-think or natutunan na po nila yung thought process na scientist, madali na lang po yung susunod na mga modules. Kasi ganun din po yung gagawin nila. Parang same process. Kaya yung module 1 talaga, yun yung pinaka-focus ko po. Kasi yung scientific method, sasenayin lang nila yung sarili nila na mag-isip like a scientist para maintindihan nila yung mga susunod na modules. Yun lang po.
Thank you for that, Sir Kev, for the thoughts. Yes, I agree to that. No, talagang mahirap i-eliminate no ang especially sa physics because I'm teaching physics as well. So, do we have other comments from our participants?
I'd just like to follow up the statement of Mr. Marquez. I think you're in the right direction. You know? Creating a scientific mindset is the and how this can be used by the students to confront their life journey. You know? And it's not easy. I can tell you, it's quite a challenge, especially in how we should teach them in a period of 3 or 4 months. I mean, you know, when to have that scientific mind takes you years to develop, you know, especially if you are to, you know, there's a shift in mindset, and you cannot simply do that, you know. And it's a challenge for us to do how to do it more effective in a period of 3 to 4 months. Probably simply introducing them, making them aware that there is such thing as a scientific mind compared to a non-scientific mind, which are both equally important in life.
Yes, sir. Yes, I agree to that, sir. Ma'am Jojih, you have something?
Yeah, I agree to what was shared by Professor Velasco and also Professor Kevin Marquez. Personally, ako naman, when I teach Science 10, it's really difficult. If you look at it from a technical standpoint, it's really difficult to compress everything in a, especially sa physics, but it's just one third of the course. So we really have to just focus on certain key ideas. And ako naman yung approach ko is to really develop in them an appreciation. So appreciation of the scientific process and the methods of science. So parang paano mo mag-isip yung mga scientists, no? Paano tayo nag-change from geocentric model to a heliocentric model? Ano ba yung naging problema noon? How do this, what actually it's these parang may mga problems that crop up on an old model, which leads to the development of a new model. So parang ganun lagi, no? It's an iterative process, no? And that's how we arrive at where we are now. So parang ganun yung approach ko na I start from what was the parang paano nag-evolve yung scientific knowledge, no, since ancient times, and what went into the thinking of these scientists. Saan sila nanggaling, anong pinagbasihan nila. So yun, and na-appreciate naman nila. So yeah, that's my approach, to develop in them an appreciation of the process itself.
Okay, thank you, Ma'am Jojih. Anyone from the participants? Any reaction or comments? All right, so Sir Ariel, do you have another question? So
Yes, sir. Ito, sir, na-bring up lang po sa chat box. I think we can, it would be good to clarify if there is any overlap between Science 10 and STS, because some of the questions are also asking if we can reinforce the two subjects, if it be possible na they can support each other, or there are other questions also if the two subjects are already redundant or equivalent to each other.
okay.
Sige.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead, ma'am.
I'll go first. No, there is just a very small overlap, and I don't think I don't think one can substitute for the other. So in the introductory part lang of Science 10, so there is part of the module is they are asked to do some activities, and we have a reading, no, on the impact of science on society. So I think that's where dun lang sa tingin ko nagkakaroon ng overlap with STS. And for those who have taken STS, this just reinforces what they learned in STS. And if they took Science 10 first before taking STS, then when they get to STS, nare-reinforce din yung parang naging introductory discussion on the impact of science on society. So I think dun lang, it's konting-konti lang yung overlap. So yeah, and totally different yung content of Science 10 from STS.
Okay, ma'am, thank you po. How about from our other panelists? Any comments?
I think the part on how to relate to society is not only, I think this has been embedded, diba, in all GE courses, because I remember I also taught Science 11, so we also incorporate this in Science 11. So, but as for STS and Science 10, looking at the syllables and the topics, they're totally different. Yeah. There's no overlap.
Okay, thank you po, Joyce. So, Sir Ariel, do you have some more questions?
Sir, this one's related to siguro teaching strategies na rin, no? Number one, can we reduce the requirements for Science 10? I guess that's the common complaint in the Q&A portion. And another related topic is because nag-a-accumulate na daw po yung mga requirements na checkan, ano po daw yung masasuggest nating way to give feedback to students faster or to check assignments faster.
Okay, may I hear from our panelists?
Ako na lang muna. Kasi Ang problem po talaga sa Science 10, meron siyang 9 modules. So, we have to treat each module equally. So, magkakaroon po talaga ng maraming um, requirements. Kasi sa isang activity, siyam na agad yon kung siyam na module. So, parang nililimit na lang po namin siya sa isa or dalawang activity lang per module. Tapos, the rest of the activities, kung meron man, or yung mga major requirements, by group na lang siya. Tapos, facilitated siya para yung student hindi siya laging mag-isa kapag gumagawa siya ng activity. Lalo na po ngayong pandemic. So, yun po. Siguro po kung babaguhin nila yung structure, kung babawasan nila yung module number while maintaining the topics, siguro mababawasan din po talaga yung requirements. Pero as of now, ganun po yung nagiging format namin. Kasi sa isang module, kailangan ng isa at least na activity para ma-treat namin yung modules equally. So kahit isang quiz man lang sa isang module, ganun. So siyam na quiz agad yun pagka siyam na module. So yun po, dami ng modules po talaga yung issue. So kung magre-redesign ng number of modules, pwede natin i-combine yung iba, which is I think possible naman po siguro. Yun, mababawasan din po yung requirements. And sometimes ako po gumagawa ko ng requirements na halimbawa for module 1, 2, and 3 na siya isang requirement. So ganun po. Ganun na lang po yung parang nagiging strategy. At least para man lang ma-treat namin yung each module equally. Yung may equal weights po sila. Kasi ano rin po yung issue po rin po yun. Kailangan equal yung weight sa grading ng bawat isang module. So yun lang.
Okay, thank you, Sir Kev. How about from our other panelists?
Hello, sir. Usually,
Yes.
for example, if I have essays or reports, I connect it directly to Turnitin since yung aming LMS ay connected siya sa Turnitin so that I can easily check for plagiarisms or for corrections. Then after that, I usually check it again. Check it after taking it to Turnitin. And for exams, since we don't have exams and I use quizzes, it's better to create an exam na meron siyang feedback mechanism agad with the students, especially to those na if there are questions, then they're asking kung bakit sila mali. Kasi it's not easy to check manually tapos you have to give them the score. So what you need to design in the LMS is for them to, after checking, meron silang initial result agad, and after that, create a small feedback to those questions na nagkaroon sila ng mali. That way, mas simple yung, mas mabilis yung interaction with the student.
Okay. Thank you, Sir Jumar. Yes, Doc Joyce, you have something?
Yeah, I think I'm speaking for Ariel, no, because this was naputol ito sa presentation earlier. He incorporates assessments into his synchronous class. So after class, wala nang iisipin yung estudyante. So while doing the class, iyon, may assessment na kaagad din siya while discussing, di ba? So, pero of course, those who are not able to attend the synchronous class, binibigyan pa din naman ng chance to answer. On my part, it's either just a quiz or an activity. So kung magbibigay na ako ng activity, hindi na ako nagbibigay ng quiz. So isa lang. Kasi yun lang ang laging feedback ng estudyante. May mga feedback na yung GE courses daw parang major na rin in terms of requirements. Ang dami-daming readings, ang dami-daming pinapanood na videos, ang dami-daming activities. So yan, kino-consider ko yan. Kaya yun, one activity per module. So if there is an activity, no more quiz. If I give a quiz, no more activity. Yun. Yun lang. Tapos, ang pinaka-end would be either a long exam or a project. Yun lang. So, hindi yung may long exam ka pa, may project ka pa.
Okay, thank you, Doc Joyce. Sir Ariel, we haven't checked yet the chat box for some questions or reactions. Do you have questions? I think those questions coming from the those who have pre-registered. Am I correct?
Na-mention na po, sir.
Yes.
Presentations and sa Q&A. We have just one question, sir, regarding if we could incorporate daw po gender sa Science 10. I think confused lang po siya sa scope ng Science 10. So
Yes,
other
sir.
than that po, same lang po yung mga theme ng questions na discuss naman po natin.
Yes, thank you for that, Sir Ariel. So any thoughts about this concern? How we can incorporate gender? Or na-consider ba natin ito?
Opo. Ako na lang po muna.
Sir Kev, you want to
sa
answer please?
meron po kasi akong activity dun sa unang module na merong mga retracted na research paper. So, yung mga research sa Retraction Watch po kasi merong website doon. Tapos may mga research paper na controversial kaya siya nire-retract. So, ang gagawin ko po, hahanap ako ng mga research paper na parang sikat. Tapos, ang gagawin nila, hanapin nila, i-research nila kung bakit yun na-retract. Kasi, meron din po ako kasi isang paper din po kasi ako na parang pinagawa sa kanila sa isang group na about gender po yung study niya, statistical gender study sa scientific community. So, yung mga science na PI, yung mga project investigator, may issues daw kung male o female daw yung nagiging parang nila. Tama naman yung data, pero mali yung conclusion. So, ang i-investigate ng student, bakit ni-retract yung paper? So, it's a gender issue kasi ang conclusion niya sobrang mali kahit tama naman yung results ng data niya. So, aside from the issue on the gender itself, yung pagiging sexist nung author, meron ding issue about doon sa pag-twist mo ng conclusion kahit legitimate naman yung data. So, 2-in-1 siya. So, yung ganun yung mga magaganda po talaga. Ako po, natuwa po ako doon sa activity kasi yung mga students parang agit na agit sila kasi after 1 day nagpasa sila kahit 2 weeks yung activity. So, after 1 day nagpasa sila ng 5 pages kahit 3 pages lang yung yung requirement. Kasi gusto nila talaga magsabi ng parang marami talaga silang gustong sabihin. Kasi yung mga paper na ni-retract po, nakakainis talaga sila kapag tinignan nyo. Yung mga 5G daw nagkakos ng coronavirus, yung ivermectin, tapos meron pa yung ADHD, nagkakos siya. Yung mga vaccines nagkakos daw ng ADHD. Yung mga ganong retracted papers po. So, nabibuild din yung emotions nila aside from the fact na nag-gain din ako kasi activity nila yun tapos nakapag-submit sila sa akin. So, yun yung mga activity na parang iti-trigger mo lang sila on the right spot. Parang magiging sobrang interested na sila sa subject namin without even realizing it. Parang natutuwa sila sa science din kahit medyo na. And yun lang po, parang ganun lang po yung ginagawa ko na I trick them into enjoying the course by doing such things. Parang ganun lang po.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Sir Kevin. Any additional thoughts from our other panelists?
Regarding gender, parang kasi science 10 is genderless. Parang di ba? I mean, walang siguro yung gender topics that would hindi talaga siya yung parang hindi mo siya matatackle when you talk about the Big Bang or standard model, no, yung mga usapin tungkol sa gender. Siguro pwede siyang i-incorporate in through for example, contributions of women scientists. Like for example, in the discussion of the work of Hubble, he based his work on measurements done by other scientists, and there was one scientist who was a woman, si Leavitt, no, who did pioneering work in the measurement of distances, no, of how we measure distances to the galaxies, no? So parang doon pwedeng ipasok yung contribution niya or contribution ni Marie Curie, for example. So dito at least ma-mention yung contributions of women in the progress of science.
May I comment on it?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir.
I think that's a very interesting point to raise, no? About gender. If we are to look at gender from the point of view of understanding the mindset of a male and female in various gender, to me that's quite interesting. You know, that's a point where we can put in gender. Definitely, there are studies saying that, for example, male and female, they definitely think differently. Okay, they process inputs quite differently. So that's a point where we can put in gender to discuss in relation to the scientific mindset and intellect. Thank you. That's the way I look at it.
Okay. Thank you so much for those thoughts. I think I'm sorry for some of those comments from the chat box were not being acknowledged, but I think some were answered. So we are running out of time, and I think at this point, do we have to entertain one more question, Sir Ariel, or wala na?
Yes, sir. Dun sa ano lang po, can we revisit the learning outcomes of Science 10 to reduce the volume of requirements and readings? But I think na-mention na naman po sa previous answers.
Okay po. So, all right. So I think at this point, I'd like to thank our panelists and a sort of a recap. Let me. Okay, so we have this highlight so far. So it is on the update on module 9 where it cannot be found in the shared Google Drive. And then we have also to review the modules and redesign activities to make them more relevant and less technical. There are suggestions to emphasize more on the scientific process and appreciation. Use of visuals, animation, games are also being presented. If possible, incorporate relevant issues in the society. I think it was there in the chat, although it was not acknowledged, but close to talk about, for example, those issues about dolomites and so on and so forth. So these are very relevant issues in our society today. Now, considering reducing course content, readings, and of course the activities that are incorporated in the modules. All right. Another is to consider alternative ways of assessment for faster feedback. Okay, so all right. So I think at this point, I'd like to give the floor to Ma'am Banji for any announcement.
Yes, Sir Johnny. Thank you very much po. So first, I'd like to thank everyone for participating in this conversation on Science 10. And I would like to thank also our panelists by presenting this certificate of appreciation to our moderator. Nagpe-present na ba yung certificate? Ayan. Okay, so kay Sir Jonnifer Sinogaya for being the moderator for the Science 10G conversation. So thank you very much po. And then for our assistant moderator, Sir Ariel Ray Rica. and who is also assisted. I think we have another assistant moderator, tama ba?
Sorry ma'am, but Dr. Maglangit, I think
Okay. Sige, sir. Okay, thank you po. So, and then we thank our panelists. So, si Ma'am Mary Joyce Flores, and then si Sir Jumar Cadondon, Sir Kevinilo Marquez, Ma'am Marie Josephine De Luna. And I think that's it. So maraming salamat po muli sa ating panelist, moderator, and assistant moderator. So I'd like to invite you all to the next conversation this afternoon on Science 11. Then we have 2 more conversations tomorrow, SAS 1 and CAS 1. Baliktad. CAS 1 sa umaga, CAS 1 History 1 sa morning, 8:30 to 10. Followed by SAS 1 at 10:30 to 12. And then our next set of conversations will be next week on May 10 to 11. And then if you've not done so, I already mentioned kanina, there's an ongoing survey on the GE program sent to the faculty. So kindly respond to this po. So I'd also like to thank our secretariat, our support staff. So we have Steph, Kai, and Cars, I think, who's helping in the presentation of the videos, and of course our Q&A team, si Rika at saka si Dax. So thank you very much. And I'd also like to acknowledge our TWG ng GE implementation who were part of the planning for the GE conversations with us here. I think we have Sir Mo Liangco of UP Los Baños, Sir Shane Carion of UP Cebu, Ma'am Nera Catalbas of UP Visayas, and Ma'am Nak Gabriel of UP Diliman. So I hope I did not forget anyone who's present, who's part of the TWG on GE implementation. So with that, thank you very much again, and happy lunch. I think we have a photo op pa, Sir Johnny.
Yes po ma'am. Following is the photo op. May I ask Step to facilitate, please?
Okay po. Ayan. 1. So we have 3 frames. Smile lang po tayo all throughout. 1, 2, 3. 2 more. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, maraming salamat po muli. Happy lunch po sa lahat. See you in the next GE Conversations. Ingat din po palagi.